Let's take a look at how you create a rotate cut in the DAD system made by ENCO. First, I'm going to go to the library, and down in the bottom from all these little tools that I can use, I'm going to hit Add, and what I'm adding is a rotate. I've heard these referred to as rotators, rotate cuts, all sorts of different ways of thinking about it, but basically what I want to do is create a playlist that contains a variety of different cuts in it with the purpose of associating one cut number with the playlist of all the rest. So let me put that into context. I'm going to create the rotate cut, and the first thing that I need to do is generate a cut ID for this. So I'm going to hit that button, and depending on how you've organized your DAD library, you can choose from these specific things, or you can write in a particular number. I'm just going to say next all groups, and it's going to give me the next available lowest cut number. Now what I need to do is identify this. So I'm going to call this a Falcon Radio, the name of our station, station ID rotate cut. It's a bit of a mouthful. You can shorten this based on your naming conventions or whatever, but for the purposes of this example, that'll be fine. Now you need to know, where is this going to live? What group should it go to? And if you hit that button, it's going to give you a list of all the different groups that you've got associated with this library or station. So I'm going to put it in the ID group along with all the station IDs. Hit select, and that should change here. There's no artist name or anything like that, but the length doesn't automatically fill itself out because, again, this is going to be associated with a playlist, not one particular cut. So you got to think sort of average length. So I'm going to enter 15 seconds here as sort of like a ballpark estimate of like what the usual station ID length is for our station. And I'm going to put that there. And you can fill out any of the other, metadata information and stuff that you want to here. But before you move on, it's important to notice here that, first of all, the format of this particular cut that we're creating is a rotate cut. Now we need to associate this with an existing playlist or create one for it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm creating one from scratch. I'll hit the playlist button, and it will bring up the playlist window, which allows me to view existing DAD groups on the left-hand side, and then the contents of this particular playlist on the right-hand side. So I need to choose from my selected groups over here. I need to choose the IDs, because that's what I'm doing, is I'm creating a station ID rotate cut. And now what I want to do is, because I have lots of different station IDs and things here, so I need to maybe sort these by title, however you want to do this, and I'm going to start going through and selecting some. Another thing that might be useful, see, like right now, I'm looking at this, and I don't see some of the information that I like. All these columns of information here. I see album, and I see user definition, but I don't see genre. So sometimes it can be useful. If you're not viewing all of the different columns of information that you would like, you double-click sort of towards the upper right-hand corner of the window, and you can change by doing a column editor and adding or subtracting things that are enabled. Right? So like these end stamps, I'm not using these at all, so I can disable them by selecting them and moving them back to the available side. See that? Same thing if there's like maybe a genre is something that would be, a field that would be useful for me to have access to visualize. Select it from the available fields and move it over to enabled fields. Save. And now I've gotten rid of those end stamps and provided genres here, which is helpful for me because I'm not interested in what the name of the title is necessarily. I just want to quickly glance through and sort by genre. And you can see I have all these different station IDs for particular programming events like 90s November or, legacy shows like Emo April and Flannel Flashback and all those things. But I just want the good old-fashioned station IDs. And I've got a lot of them. But here's what I can do, is go through and and make a selection. So I want all the station IDs that exist in my ID group over here to end up in this new created playlist over here. So I'm selecting the first station ID that comes up and scrolling through until I get to the end of the list of genre station IDs. You can see I've got a lot of them. So I hold the Shift key and select the last station ID that I've got, and it will select all of them in between, just like any other program. And I'm going to drag and drop all of these into a playlist that I'm creating. So there's all my station ID, my sort of generic Falcon Radio station IDs. Now I just have to hit save and give this a name. So this is going to be my Falcon Radio ID rotator. So you could come up with a different file name description or whatever like that. The file name is limited to a certain amount of characters, actually. So then in the description, you can be a little bit more specific, I guess. Rotator. I'm going to put the group as the ID group, IDs, and I'll hit save, and then I'll hit close. And see, now when I'm back here where I was originally creating the information about the rotate cut, now I've got that particular playlist associated with it, which is good news. So now what I'm going to do is close and save. And you can see that now I've created that Falcon Radio Station ID rotate cut right here. It's 15 seconds long, just like I wanted. I suppose I could change the genre, so I'll right-click and say Mask Change the Genre, and I'll say Station ID, and add that over there. And now, of course, it moved, based on the alphabetical order of things. So I'll bring it back up to the top. Falcon Radio Station ID rotate cut. But important to notice is the image on the left-hand side, the little thumbnail associated with this cut number, is this series of volume icons with arrows. That means it's a rotator. Notice the difference. And basically what it means is that playlist I created, every time this Falcon Radio Station ID rotate cut is used, it's not going to run through the entire playlist I created. It's just going to play the next one in the rotation. So every single time I play this, it should be a different rotate cut. And this is useful if you just want one particular thing. You don't want to think about what station ID you're using. You just know that you need a generic Falcon Radio Station ID. You can grab the rotate cut, throw it in the playlist that's active on presenter for the DJ. You can add that to an array button, and every single time that you hit it, it'll be a different unique station ID. And you don't even have to think about it. It's just always going to be changing. And you won't hear the same one, until it rotates all the way through the contents of that playlist. And in my case, that was a pretty long playlist. Of course, you can always go through and edit that playlist. If I hit the playlist button there and I want to call up an existing playlist, I hit the button here. And I'm going to go down to where I said Falcon Radio, FR. Here's that new. It has 342 station IDs in it, which is plenty for us to not hear the same one, too frequently. But if I load that, I'm going to see it over here, and I can change the size of my windows. And what I can do is start rearranging the order of these if I want to. You can see that the artist is, when I brought them in, they're in groups made by the same artist. So if I don't want it necessarily like that, I can drag and drop these things around and mix things up however I see fit, right? So you can have, a lot of control over the playback of these things. Just know that every time that you use this rotate cut, it's going to just, let's say that this Athena Town, this was the last cut that was played. The next time that rotate cut is triggered, it's going to play the next one in a playlist and keep going all the way through until we make it around to the top, and it'll just keep going. So that's how you create and, strategically how you might use a rotate cut in ENCO's DAD system.